This video is to help us go through the story map for the writing task for this week. So I'm going to read through the story map, and once we get to the end, I'm going to ask you to try and think where there's an asterisk in the story. I'd like you to try and change this part of the story. So there's a few throughout, but we will go through some different ideas of what you can change it to. So to begin with, I'm going to ask you to have a think about what you think this first sentence might be in my story map. Now, my sentence is, on a shiny green leaf sat a small green chameleon, full stop. You could hardly see it, full stop. It moved onto a brown tree and turned brown. And then it rested on a red flower and turned red, full stop. The tiny chameleon went to a zoo, full stop. He wished he could be huge like a polar bear, handsome like a flamingo, smart like a fox, and tall like a giraffe, full stop. All of his wishes came true, full stop. Suddenly, now there's a good opener, suddenly a fly flew past, but the chameleon couldn't eat it because, so good connective, because he was so mixed up, full stop. Finally, he wished he could be himself and he could catch the fly, full stop. So I'm going to go back through it, and where there's a little star, a little asterisk, we're going to think about what we could use instead of that, so what we could change it to. So if we start off with this brown tree, so where it said it moved onto a brown tree and it turned brown. Now, if you think of something that is brown and you want to change the tree to something else that's brown, then you're going to keep turned brown here. But if you change this tree to it moved onto some sand, it's not going to stay brown, is it? So it moved onto some sand and turned yellow. So we'll think about the colours that it'll go through as well. So instead of the tree or the flower, so we could have it went onto some sand and turned yellow. We could have it went onto the road and turned grey. We could say it went into some water. Now we all know that water doesn't have a colour, we can see right through it, but often people in stories or in pictures that you're doing will say that water is blue. So for this story, I'm going to say if my chameleon went into some water, it turned blue. And we'll do one more. He could go into some bricks or some rubble, and he's going to turn orange that way. Now these are just ideas that you can have a think of. You don't have to use them, you can use whatever ones you'd like to use. So let's go back to the story. So that is for the tree and the flower. So we can change them into any of these things or something that you've come up with yourself. So let's think. So then it says the tiny chameleon went to a zoo. So we want to change where he went. So let's think of other places that he could go to. So he might go to a farm, he might go to a beach, he might go to a theme park, Now you might think of other places he might go as well, but that's just some ideas for you. So back to the story. So he wished he could be as huge as a polar bear. So we want to change polar bear. So we want something that's huge. So let's think of different things that we could describe something as huge as something. So we might have an elephant. We might have as huge as a skyscraper. We might have as huge as a roller coaster. Okay, so there's some ideas. Now we come back to it. So we've got as huge as a polar bear, as handsome as a flamingo. So we want to change the flamingo. So something that's handsome or something that's pretty. Now remember, whatever you choose, it should try and fit in with the place that you've gone. So if I've chosen a skyscraper, I'm not going to see a skyscraper on a farm, am I? So I might want to say that he's gone into a city instead of a zoo. So the chameleon went to a city or a town. I'm not going to find an elephant on a farm either. I'm not going to find an elephant on a beach. So have a think about, make sure that you tie in what animals you see to where you've gone. So handsome, we might find, so you could say a lion. A lion's quite handsome with his big mane. Or a starfish. A starfish is pretty. You might find a starfish on the beach or in the water. So if we come back, so we've got as handsome as a flamingo, as smart as a fox. So we want to change fox into something else. So we want something that's smart. Smart. So you might have an owl. An owl's smart. Or a dolphin. Now, boys and girls, these are just examples, so you don't have to choose my examples at all. You will probably think of some much more interesting and exciting ideas than I have. So as smart as a fox and as tall as a giraffe. So we want to think of something that's tall. So we might have as tall as a tower. Or as tall as a tree. Okay, so then we come back. So all of his wishes came true. Suddenly, a fly flew past, but the chameleon couldn't eat it because he was so mixed up. Finally, he wished he could be himself and he could eat the fly. So we want to change it. What could he be instead of himself? What could he be that would allow him to eat the fly? So I'm going to say to himself, we want to change himself. I'm going to say I think he might change into a spider, because a spider catches all the things they're going to eat in their web, don't they? So they'd be able to catch a fly quite easily, I think. So I'm going to change mine into a spider. You can change yours into anything you'd like so that you'd be able to eat the fly. Okay, so we're going to come back. The last thing I'm going to think of is we want you to use some great wow words. So you might have a huge chameleon. Now I had a small green chameleon. I said a tiny chameleon. So I don't want you to use just the same wow word throughout your whole story. You want to try and choose different wow words because that keeps it really, really interesting and exciting. So I'm going to think of different words that we can use instead of small. So instead of small, I might have tiny. Or I might have little. Or I might have mini. Or I might have like a baby chameleon. Okay, So these are just ideas that I have here, and you can take these ideas if you'd like, but you can also think of your own ones, because I'm sure you'll all be able to think of some great wow words. So when you're doing your writing, remember that you can look at this story map to help you, but you are retelling the story of the mixed up chameleon. So remember to have your different lengths of sentences, have short sentences and long sentences, use good sentence openers and good interesting connectives like but and because. And hopefully this little video will help you think of some ideas. Now for this week, your hand in task for literacy is this writing piece. So I cannot wait to see the brilliant ideas that you come up with and how you're going to change this story to make it your own. I'm so excited to see them. So try hard, boys and girls.